asked you during the Big 12 teleconference about your team's improvement. You mentioned assistants. I'm wondering if you could just go a little more in depth with their role in helping you guys improve week to week. How have you seen that? How have you seen that play out with your assistant coaches this year?
It's kind of a follow-up on what I said after the game, that each week my job is to evaluate our talent level, the other team's talent level, what our matchups are, and then Monday through Wednesday, I get a picture in my mind of what I think our schemes are based on offense and defensive staff. And then Saturday I evaluate it, whether I think it was right, wrong, or the same, and give that information to the staff. And then they're responsible for relaying that to the team by position, getting the information they need to correct mistakes or tell them what they did good, and then things in practice that we can adjust, all while improving in just our basic schemes over 4 months. And so they're responsible for their position, for those guys to get better as the season progresses on. My job is just to evaluate it.
I mean, at this point, do you feel like maybe the things you were saying early in the year as you were evaluating after games, has it changed? Or is your laundry list shorter with your assistants and what you're telling them to try to talk to these guys about in practice?
Well, it varies based on how the game plans were played out the Saturday versus who we played. Sometimes, and I said this as a coordinator, sometimes I looked at my work on Sunday and said that wasn't a very good game plan. It didn't really give our players the best chance. Now, we might have won the game, or we might not have won the game, but if I had to do it all again, I wouldn't have done these 3 or 4 things. I was wrong in my evaluation of them and my matchups. So each week it just varies a little bit. And in the end, the coaches have to do a good job of preparing their players and keeping them motivated individually. I mean, I can't motivate 140 guys. They need to motivate their players individually and get them to maximize themselves in practice.
Mike, I'm sure you talked to Herb Street last week in preparation for their broadcast here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening this morning driving in. He's on National Sirius XM show, and it wasn't a question. He stopped before they cut him off and said goodbye. I need to talk about something here. There is a new way to build a quality football team in college football.
Mm-hmm.
And Oklahoma State's the example. And he talked about your culture. He talked about recruiting guys that care about practicing and working and care about each other. I mean, I'm sure you probably didn't hear it, but your philosophy got spit out this morning nationally by the guy that most people consider the voice of college football.
Well, I had a good conversation with his group, the 4 of them, last week, and really the first time that I had an in-depth conversation with them this season. And the majority of their questions revolved around those topics. And, I mean, I just told them the truth. This is what we do. This is who we are. We haven't really changed. We've made adjustments. I've been fortunate to have Rob Glass here for 18 years. The majority of our staff is here. They understand the culture. And we make minor tweaks throughout the years, but overall this is a very structured, disciplined organization. It's regimented down to the minute of every day, year-round. I mean, that's the way it is. And we don't change much, and we stay the course, and we treat the kids with respect. And, I mean, their question was the same as we get. You're not playing with 4- and 5-star players. I mean, we're trying to get 4- and 5-star players. Sometimes we don't get them, or most of the time we don't get them. It's not like we're not trying to recruit him. And then there's some 4- and 5-stars that we don't want. We don't want them. We don't think they're going to fit into our system. Nothing against them. They may go somewhere else and do just fine, but not here. This is a different environment. If you want to go to school and play football here, you have to abide by certain policies. It's the way it is. We don't budge much. And that became a topic for about 15 minutes during the discussion with those guys last week.
The culture being the same, the organization being the same, how do you think your approach to coaching has changed since you've started here, especially with this group where, like you mentioned, guys are buying in, they're having fun? Just do you think you've changed?
Well, I'm much more patient and a completely different person now than I was maybe even 6-7 years ago. I don't know. I mean, I got into my late 40s and just changed quite a bit. I'm calm, I think. I have a lot more patience. I understand young people more now than I did. I guess I've done it a long time. I get better at it. So I've changed considerably, and even with the approach with my assistant coaches and the administration for that matter. I mean, I didn't really take no for an answer for a lot of years. Now sometimes I take no for an answer. It's okay. But I'm just much more patient now than I ever have been as a head coach in dealing with all the different areas of things that I have to deal with in my position.
You talked about the assistant coaches at first, but how do you think you've specifically changed with the assistant coaches?
I mean, I say this, and I really believe this. I think I'm the easiest guy in the country to work for. I believe that, and I think that's been that way for 17 years. I think over the last 6 to 8 years, it makes it even more of a good place to work from the standpoint that there's just a lot of things that come up with my job, and if you're not careful and if you don't have enough experience, you can become frustrated, and frustration causes anger, and then that causes dissension among people. It's only human nature, and I've been able to avoid that over the last 5, 6, 8 years or so, and that's helped with my relationship with the guys on our staff, not just the 10 or 11 coaches, but there's a lot of people in our building now. We have recruiting staff, equipment staff, strength staff, medical staff. There's a lot. And so there's just a lot of moving parts, and my patience has allowed me to become a better person and a better coach in dealing with the people in the organization.
You've referenced Chad and Dr. Schrum several times over the course of the season. How much easier has it made the job?
Well, I don't want to take Coach Holder and President Hargis and throw them under the bus, because we had our differences over my career, but we also did a lot of good things. We also won a lot of games. We built a lot here, and we've been very successful. So, but this is a new wave. There's some youth. There's excitement. There's new ideas, and I think there's a much more direct line of communication pretty much daily. I've had more sit-down conversations with Dr. Schrum or standing conversations in 3 months than I have with anybody in administration in 17 years. I mean, she was at my practice last night. So we're just in a new wave here, and what our goal is, and I don't want to speak out of turn for Dr. Schrum or Chad, but our goal is to take Oklahoma State football to another level in all areas, period. And we've had that plan since they got the job, and we sat down and had a discussion. And I don't mind telling you, I told them this is who I am, this is what I believe in. I might not be your coach. If you guys think something else, you need to get a new coach. But I'm not changing who I am, and I'm not changing our philosophy. I just need to have a partner to develop a relationship where we can take this thing to another level. And we all came to an agreement on what our goal is. And our goal is to turn Stillwater into a big-time college football town on Fridays and Saturdays, very similar to what you're getting in the SEC at some of those schools that are in communities the size that we are, 50,000-ish or so. We've got a long ways to go, but we have a plan to get there, and I think we have I know we have the leadership, and we have the system in place now. We just have to make that decision as an organization and as administration and my people that we're taking this to another level, where we can, over extended period of years, start to bring in the culture, young men that fit our culture, that may be the talent that what people are looking for that can potentially be NFL players. But we're not going to sacrifice the culture at that. And that's really what our plan is with the communication that I've had with them over the last 3 months.
Is there anything specific you can tell me as to what you were seeking to take it to the next level that you're describing?
You have to have a full commitment. You have to have a full commitment. Guys, we can call it like it is. Football is the most important sport on this campus, period, financially. If you don't have football, you can't run the operation. And if you want football to be in a position to financially run the operation and also market the university in a big way, I'll give you an example. How much money of marketing do you think this university got the last 4 weeks on Tuesday nights? When your logo's on that TV for an extended period of time, and it's on the bottom of the TV all week until Saturday, of being in this playoff system or whatever it is you want to call it, you can't put a dollar figure on that marketing. So in order for football to maintain a high level, we have to make a full commitment. If we make that full commitment, we can take this place to a place it's never been before. If we don't, then we shouldn't expect for that to happen. It's as simple as that.
You're not talking about just like salaries or infrastructure.
Oh, I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about infrastructures. I'm talking about every couple of years having a plan to remodel, redo academic center, make academic center better, professional career development, make the staff as highly paid as we can within reason to make this area over here function. We're due for a new field here. Update the stadium. I mean, stadium's perfect. It needs to be refurbished at times. Practice facilities, support staff, recruiting budgets, airplanes, all the things that you talk about in the SEC that's going on right now, that has to happen here if we want this to continue up and be at a level that people say, wow, they got a real chance now.
These are big picture things, Mike, obviously. When you first got the job, were those types of things really on your mind, or were you?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what I was doing. I mean, I went in my office over here, closed the door, and started to cry because I didn't know what to do. I called Joe DeForest and begged him to stay just to help me, and he said he would stay. And then after that, I don't know. I don't know what happened the first 6 or 8 years. I don't remember much of it, to be honest with you. I just worked 16 hours a day every day. I'm sure I was not easy to deal with. I'm sure I probably wasn't a great husband. Maybe not the easiest guy for the administration to deal with, but I didn't know any different. I was just trying to figure it out.
All those things you're talking about, Mike, in terms of improvement, next level and all that, you've done a lot to this point, and you're playing a team that's done a lot, a program that's done a lot. Are you the two schools that's in the best position to sort of claim a spot at the top of the Big 12 going forward?
The 23, whatever year it is. So yeah, I've had these discussions with Dr. Shrum and Chad and other people that are involved in the decision-making process, and so I'm not afraid to say that, in my opinion, we should take the lead role. I think Baylor's in a great situation, and I've said this, I don't hide it, that you can get in a car and drive 4 hours and not have to go do anything else to recruit at Baylor. I was there. I know what they have. I can draw a circle around a 4-hour radius of Waco, and I know what type of players are around there. So they're in a great situation, and I think he's a really good coach, and I think he's really smart. I don't know him real well personally other than the discussions I've had with him. I like him, which doesn't mean anything. I'm just calling it like it is. But in my opinion, I'm going off of he's in year 2. I'm in year 17. So there's a big difference just from that standpoint of the conversations that are taking place here, and there's a lot of agreement that we need to establish ourselves as the top of this thing in moving forward. That doesn't guarantee you any wins because just like you said, we've been in the middle of the row in this conference for years, and we've done pretty well. So it's not a guarantee you wins. It's just, a new facility doesn't guarantee you wins. A new facility guarantees you're going to get a few more eyes in recruiting. But you can still win with the old facility. So there's a combination there, but more importantly than anything, what I want to see, because someday around here they're going to run me off or I'm going to say I'm done coaching. And when that happens, I want Oklahoma State to be a big-time college football town for as we move forward. That's the way I would like it to be whenever they run me off or so whatever. And that's my goal because I think that's what's best for this university.
More immediate, my understanding is you gave the speech at the end of practice last night of turning the page. Last week was last week. Focus on now that you're in the Big 12 championship, don't win the Big 12 championship. Do you have any inkling that won't be received the right way and taken the right way this week?
I mean, I'm comfortable with this team because of their maturity, and we know that we've been in what would be a playoff system for the last 5 weeks, right? You get to a point, about the time we start talking about, are you going to watch the Tuesday night show? Once you get to that point, you're kind of, if you win, you're alive. If you lose, you better hope that you get a couple breaks to get back into the picture. So they've been good every week. They burned a lot of energy. They burned a lot of emotion last Saturday night. We can't. That's over with. That's nothing to do with this next game. Absolutely zero. And we're playing a good football team that has also improved during the year. They're a better team now than they were when we played them. And this is a good football team. They have talent. They know what they're doing. I think they're well coached. In all phases, I think they're well coached. And so if our guys don't reprogram themselves to this week, then they don't give themselves chance to play at the highest level Saturday morning. You just can't. We don't get any guarantees in winning the game, but we can control the guarantee that we can play at the highest level we can based on our commitment this week. And I don't think that will be an issue. I think there's enough maturity that these guys will prepare and practice well Tuesday and Wednesday.
From an XO and talent standpoint, what are the biggest concerns with Baylor?
Well, their schemes are good. They know what they're doing. They block well. They've got skill at the running back position. We know that. They got skill at the wide receiver position. Their quarterback was a runner and a thrower. I don't know which quarterback's playing. The other guy came in and played pretty good from what I see. Now, I have not studied him as much as the other guys in the building. I hadn't got that far. Defensively, they're aggressive. They play zone. They play man. They don't sit back. 8, makes play after play after play. The big nose guard makes a bunch of football plays. They're active. They're running. And you're also seeing a team that's winning, so when they win, they play harder. That's where they're at. These are two equal teams. I mean, we're on the same level. It's going to be field position is going to be important. Special teams is going to be important. We all know that effort and turnovers play a big role, and you go play. We need to control what we can control, which I think they will with the maturity that's in that locker room.
Mike, Jim Knowles was named a finalist for the Broyles Award this morning, and with that comes some buzz around the country.
Finalist what?
For the Broyles Award.
Oh, right, okay.
And with that comes buzz, and with all the movement and openings across the country, does finding a way to keep him here long term become more of a priority right now?
Well, it's been a priority all year. It's not a matter of finding a way to keep him. It's a matter of providing him with something that puts him at a level that he deserves to be at based on his success. That goes back to the question that I just answered. That long answer is part of what I'm talking about. So if you want to play with the big boys, and that's your goal, and that's the philosophy of the people in the organization and the fans, and you got to get into the same boat. If you want to get in the boat, then get in the boat. If you don't, then don't expect it. And so we're going to do everything we can to keep him here within reason. But we also understand my responsibility is to be feasible with the resources that we have available and be fair with the administration and the decisions they have to make based on the resources they have available. But there is a side of it to where you have to decide whether you want to play in the big games or not moving forward.
Because of the coaching carousel in the early signing period ramped up, along Eli's question here, do you feel like you got a commitment from him, which is important, to stay the course with this team? I mean, or
You're talking about Coach Knowles?
Yeah, are you feeling there could be a disruption because somebody tries to steal him?
I'm fairly certain that he'll be coaching here next year. I don't know. I mean, Green Bay Packers may offer him $3 million. I can't say for sure, but within reason, I'm very, very certain that he'll be coaching here next year.
And through this season, that's the problem. Stats get disrupted.
That's right. It could happen next week for all we know. I mean, we know that we can't predict much in this profession, right? We know that for a lot of reasons. It's always going to be that way when money's involved the way it is. The money's gotten out of hand and it's out of control, but it's not stopping it. There's a value based on success and what people would predict your future to be, and that market value has gone through the roof, and that's not going to change. We don't control that.
Does it bother you, though, that staffs are being poached right now?
Well, I mean, I don't like that. I don't poach other people's staffs till after the games. I never have. But that doesn't mean that at some time it might not change. I mean, I hate to say that, but I have not gone in and taken coaches from other people's staff during the season because I don't want it done to mine. But they could. I mean, and it is what it is.
When you talk about the maturity of your defense, it's mostly mental maturity, but what is the physical maturity of having a bunch of 22 and 23-year-olds? What kind of advantage does that give you?
It's a big advantage. So when you're competing with 23-year-olds instead of 18-year-olds, just like the other night I said after the game, we have a number of 22 and 23-year-olds that were playing in the fourth quarter on defense, and they were very productive. and then we had a true freshman jump off sides in a crucial situation, and that's just maturity and experience and age. So these players that continue to come back and be a part provide a huge impact for our team. So, I mean, we got 8 guys coming back next year that should be graduating. They're all coming back for next year's team. Most of the defense is coming back. They've already told me they want to come back. They love it here. They want to play another year, and they're all coming back. So,
How much pride do you take in that? The fact that in this age,
I
where
take a lot of-
everybody's leaving,
Yeah.
transferring, and you got a bunch of guys that,
I
like
take it,
Harper,
yeah.
I mean, he came, stayed
Yeah.
here a long time, never played.
yeah,
He's,
yeah,
30 years old and out there making the plays the game.
I know.
So, I mean, how much just
right.
guys?
Yeah.
I mean, when a coach says that, we don't listen to you because you guys don't always tell the truth. But then when a guy comes and stays around 5 years, even when he's not playing, he clearly likes the place.
Yeah.
How much pride do you take in creating a place like that?
Well, it's important to me that these guys have an experience that when they leave here, that if somebody said, would you do it again? And they said, yes, I would do it again. I don't want 18, 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds being in this program, being in college, and then when it's over saying, I'm glad it's over, because we all know how fun it is to be 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. That's the best years of your life. And if they had a bad experience here, that doesn't set well with me. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't work hard. That doesn't mean they don't take care of their academics. But just the enjoyment of growing and maturing as a young man, those things are important to me. They weren't in my first 6 or 8 years here that somebody brought up. I didn't know that was important. But since then, and particularly the last 5 or 6 years, I really understand the importance of wanting them to have a great experience while they're here. We're not going to win every game. We win a lot of them, but we can't guarantee that. We can't make that a part of criteria of what a good experience is. So it's very important, selfishly for me, that these guys want to come back and stay longer and spend time with us for another year.
Did Dez say anything about wanting to come back and
Who?
being on the sidelines again this next
I think
Saturday?
Dez would come back. Yeah, Dez like a little kid down there. I mean, every time somebody bumped into me, it was him. You know, so he loves OSU.
Mike, when you guys finished up your non-conference schedule, came back from Boise, you're 3-0, but you've really scratched out those 3 wins. I know you had injuries, but at that point, I don't think anybody from the outside was looking in saying, these guys are going to be in the playoff mix come championship weekend. When did you have a sense that maybe this team had a chance to really, I mean, it was probably before, the rankings start and you guys are wherever you are, but did you have a moment when you thought, I think these guys might be able to do something pretty special here?
Well, after the non-conference, I thought the chance was 0. I mean, I didn't even think that far. I was just trying to get to where we could function to play the next game. I think it was Kansas State. I think that was our first Kansas State our first conference game. I mean, I was just trying to figure out a way to somehow win the Kansas State game, and then maybe after we played Kansas and we started to get some guys back on offense, and our O-line had played together for a couple weeks, and we played really good. And I thought we're better than I thought we were at that point, because I didn't know where we were because we really hadn't been healthy. We had played excellent on defense, but offensively, I mean, it wasn't anything to write home about. And you have to have both to get to a certain level. And then when we played really well against TCU, and I know that they lost their coach, but they're still very athletic, and they know what they're doing. I felt like, then it kind of solidified to me these guys are a little bit better than what I thought they were. And I don't think anybody should look down on me for that. I don't know anybody in here that thought that, certainly after Game 3. So.
I'll not forget something obvious. Is this your first rematch scenario?
It's my first what?
Rematch with someone in the same season?
I mean, it would have to be, right? Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, we've never done it in the season, yeah.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I mean, I think that when we decided to have the conference game, or somebody decided it, might have been pressure from the committee, playoff system. Maybe there's more money in it from a television revenue. I don't know the particulars of it. we had our league set up to where we played each other. So the way it used to be decided, you really did have a champion. And then they've gone this route. We all signed up for it. I will say that it does generate more interest and TV viewers because right to the end they watch. I'm guessing all of the Baylor fans watched our game to see what happened. So you draw more attention and viewers to that game because they're watching to see, can we get in the game. So from that standpoint, I would say it's positive. It would have been a little bit unusual to play OU and then turn around and play them 6 days later. That would have been unusual. Just, I don't know. I mean, that kind of been weird. I actually was thinking of what to say if y'all asked me about that. The old Ernie Banks deal, let's play two concept that's the only thing I had to say. I don't know, but it's kind of weird. But we haven't played him in quite a while, so that helps.
I was going to say that maybe it didn't feel so much like a big match because it's been 2 months.
I would agree, because it's been a while, yes.
But is there any fine tuning in terms from a coaching standpoint? We did this when we saw him here the first time we played him, so let's be careful not to do this there in Dallas.
So what's interesting with that is they're really kind of who they are, and we're kind of who we are. I've already had that discussion with them this morning with both groups, and when you look at the last few games of them, and you look at our games, I mean, we're kind of who we are, and they're kind of who they are. There hasn't been much a dramatic change. They played another quarterback, but their philosophies were pretty much the same. Same thing with us. I mean, we play the other quarterback. We don't really change other than we don't run him on option. But from that standpoint, it's really similar.
Coach, you mentioned the option play. You and Casey both talked about how important that is to the offense. And it seems whenever the offense is kind of sputtering out, that's the play that kind of gets it going again.
He did. Yeah, he was really good on it. Did a good job cutting up and took off, ran, made a good run, made a play. We needed a spark at that time. Both offenses were struggling. We needed a spark.
Joe McCallski done filling in for Danny?
Good. He will show signs of youth and inexperience, but he's performed at a higher level than what I thought he would have.
You were talking about assistants earlier. What is Benny Tonga? He's been around a long time. What has he meant to the program? So
Benny is an illustration of hard work and loyalty to our culture. When we hired Benny, I didn't know Benny. He came very highly regarded, and we hired him as administrative work, but also as a way to communicate and build relationship with his heritage, Polynesians. That there are a lot of those type of players that have played at this level and the other level and do really well, and we didn't have a good way to communicate with them. At times there can be language barriers, so they can be first generation or second generation back, and maybe their guardians, parents, aunts, uncles, very traditional families. They might live with a bunch of people, it might not even be their parents, and it could be a language barrier with the Tongan language. And so he was a source of communication for us with that heritage of player, and has been tremendous. We actually have a Polynesian wall of honor in our office where all their pictures are up there. And I think now, since he's been here, there's 12 or 14 that have come through here, and the majority of them, he's been the communicator with them and their family. So they could understand our culture and their culture and help us during communication and recruiting. Go ahead.
Here lately, you guys have really gotten into Utah and kind of gone out west. Has he kind of been a gatekeeper for that?
Yeah, he's a guy that I would say, 75, 3 out of 4 of the guys that we recruit that have been in that area, some in Arizona also. He's involved in the communication, particularly when the parents get on campus, the family gets on campus. If there's a language barrier there for whatever reason, he can help communicate that. And from that standpoint, recruiting is communication business. He helps.
Mike, their names may not reflect it, but Jalen Warren, Mason Cobb, those are 2 guys that have Tongan or Samoan background.
Sure.
Have you noticed how much they kind of add to what you want the culture to be? Because their culture blends so well.
Sammy, Sione, Latu, Maybe there's 5 or 6 right now on our team. You know, what's funny is they kind of know each other. The culture here with the family and the strength of their families is important to them. And so when they come into this culture, it's very similar to the culture that they've been raised with. And it does help because they're already adjusted to that style.
Mike, your defense obviously has characteristics to it. You know, I think everybody can kind of point to what those strengths are. But the personality of the defense, I don't know what words you would use to describe it, but to see the way that Devin made that stop on 4th down, getting up off the ground and going to get Caleb, and then the way Colin crawls on the ground to get Caleb on that sack, relentless comes to mind for me. What do you sort of ascribe to the personality of this defense, and what do those plays say to you?
I think it starts with our culture, but then it goes really quickly to Jim. Jim has a very unique style of coaching and has a unique relationship with them. He has the ability to coach old school and keep them motivated and involved and not create friction. And he treats them all the same. Like, he'll chew on Harper or Rodriguez the same he would as a true freshman. That's a lost art in coaching today compared to the way it was 10 years ago, or particularly 30 years ago. So that style that he brings to the defense helps with what you're talking about. And then we all know this: once they start playing well and have success, then they almost don't want to be the guy that doesn't play hard. So when they watch video on Sunday, they're in a room, and if everybody in here can see, and if somebody's not giving effort, like out of the corner of their eyes, they're cutting at him because they know you're not playing hard. I got 10 guys playing hard, and you're not playing hard. And I think there's a tremendous amount of peer pressure there for that. So now the snowball's going downhill, and you can't stop it, and it's working in our favor. Those were 2 great plays because 13 was going to go on that and convert a first down. He was the last guy and for long ways. And then he, was able to kind of foot sweep him and get him down. And then on the other one with the Colin, I think that was the last play, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, he's on the ground. He's crawling, and he dove at his feet and got him down. And honestly, you really have to get him around his feet to get him down. I knew he was slippery, but he's even more slippery than what I thought he was. So those 2 guys made great plays.
You count those as, among the bigger plays this program has had?
There's no doubt. If he doesn't trip him up, he's got a first down, a new set of downs. The play calls are going to be much different from that side. And then obviously, if the game didn't end there, we all know what he's done. Like when he took off on the long run, I didn't know if we were going to catch him because he's done that in games and scored. And then when he's running around back there, I don't know how many times we've all seen him when he's going to his right where he throws the ball sidearm and throws it to somebody in the back of the end zone. It's happened 6 or 8 times already this year. And if you don't get him down, that could have happened. So.
Spoken about Spencer Sanders' decision-making, we've seen it. But from October 2nd when he threw 3 interceptions for Baylor, or maybe just this whole ball, where is he different now, both under center and on the sideline?
Yeah, his composure has been good. His ability to listen and learn has been good. His relationship with Rattay has been good. Everything else he does is good. So when we protect him fairly well and we rush the ball decent, he plays better. And that's going to be fairly common for most quarterbacks in high school and in college and in the pros. And his protection in this last game was average, but he still played pretty well. So his games of experience this year obviously have helped him.
Threw 2 interceptions and then bounced back. He had that run in the 4th quarter and then you guys back. Would he have been able to do that just as well the last couple of years?
No, I think he's much better now than he was 2 years ago. Last year, his composure was pretty good, but I think he's considerably better now than he was 2 seasons ago.
Mike, you talked about the atmosphere Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Can't replicate that at Jerry World, but your fans, it looks like, responding pretty significantly. How much do you hope to have a pretty electric atmosphere in that game Saturday?
I mean, I'm sure that we're going to sell every ticket. They're hard to come by. We can't get tickets. So I know that our administration wanted to provide every ticket we could for the fans once we take care of the people that are involved in the game, and I'm guessing that that's already taken place. But Saturday night comes back to the discussion that I had earlier with that environment is the way it should be. Again, if we're going to take this step, then they have to be a part of it. And so and they were, and they have been this year, and they were Saturday night. I'm guessing that all of our seats down there will be full, and everybody will be excited and ready to watch us play again, because that's kind of been the attitude of the fans and the team both this season.
You've been to that stadium, I think, twice.
Yeah, several times. We've
Florida
played.
State, Missouri and Ole Miss.
Yeah, we've played there several times, yeah.
You think this will be a little different? Because one was a season opener, neutral site type deal, and then bowl games. This is a little different animal.
You know, I would think it would be like it was a pretty exciting environment when we played Florida State. There was a lot of people there. They had just won a national championship, and there was kind of an electric feel to that game like you had out here Saturday night during warm-ups. Bowls are a little different because fans have been there a week and they've been partying, and it's not quite like it's good. But now when we were in the Fiesta Bowl, you had that feeling, and the Sugar Bowl, and really the Cotton Bowl. But I think it'll be different. I think it'll be more like the Florida State game where everybody's revved up because, you know, they're probably going to get in there on Friday night, get up, come straight to the stadium. They'll be ready to roll. I would guess it would be a pretty cool environment from that standpoint.
Josh Sills is one of those guys that really contributes to the culture that you built here, and he's only been here a short time. What is it about him that blends in so well, and what does he add to the culture here?
Well, he's an old school, small town, hunts, fishes, more of the old offensive lineman concept, and comes in here. He really kind of fit our culture before he got here, so it was easy to get him going. He likes that. He likes it the way it is here, so he brings a lot to the table from a maturity standpoint. And then it was easy for him to adapt to our culture kind of based on his background.
Do you have any thoughts on Lincoln Riley going to USC?
No, I hadn't even thought about it. I mean, I hadn't talked to him about it. At some point I will, but it's hard to predict nowadays what goes on. I mean, nothing surprises me anymore.
Have you talked to Kale? Since,
Several times, yeah.
what do you have to say about it?
I mean, he was as shocked as you and I are. They did a good job of keeping it under their hat. Nice job.
After yesterday's wrestling duel, John mentioned how impressed he was with your guys grinding it out there in the second half of Saturday's game. He said his wrestlers could learn from that. Where do you think that comes from with your guys? Because you've been grinding out since game one. Just being able to not lose that mindset and have that ability to give up.
The majority of our defense are 22, 23 years old, and there's no substitute for age and experience, period. That's where it starts. And then I think the young players feel guilty if they don't grind it out with them, because then they get identified as not playing their role. And that's called leadership, and that's what's happening. Coaches can't make that happen. This is a player's game, okay? This team has decided to do just what you're saying, and that's why they're playing as well they are. We can't – if coaches could make that happen, every coach would be successful. There wouldn't be any coaches getting fired. But the culture and the players have to decide to make this happen. We can't do it for them. I tell them all the time, I can't go out there and play. I don't play, you play. We can give you a blueprint of what to do, and hopefully it's correct. And if you follow that blueprint, you can go and give effort like what you're talking about. But we cannot do it for you.
Do you think it potentially helps the fact that you do have a lot of those three-star guys who are maybe overlooked, so they're used to having to grind to get to this point?
There's some truth to that. I don't know for sure because I've never coached on a team that had a mess of 4- and 5-star players, so I don't know. But I know that the players that we have in this organization, the majority of them are hungry. And I think that's a big part of athletics.
You talked talked all season about the importance of special teams, especially after what you all went through with the third quarter in Bedlam. How big was it having DJ Jones recover that punt to get the touchdown to put you all?
Yeah, I think anybody that predicted what transpired there and then said you'd still come back and be able to win, and then both teams did it. But the parity, there's more parity in college football than ever, and there's a lot of parity in this league. So special teams plays more of a role than what it used to when offenses were scoring 50 points a game. There were a number of special teams plays over the last 6 to 8 years that took place that should have been talked about in post-game media conferences, that nobody talked about them because there was too much offense to talk about and it didn't matter. It's not that way now based on the improvement of defenses and the parity in this league, and really the parity in college football.
You talked last week about Blaine Green and how he's kind of morphed into that, a little bit of a hybrid role there. How important was that to have him in that role with Logan and
he gave us some options that we hadn't had all year, and he's practiced there some, but he's young, he's immature, we're maximizing what we can get out of him, but he's still a freshman. And he gave us some options in this game that we hadn't had based on his athleticism.
If you win this game, I think you're going to make the playoffs. Have you thought about what that could do for the program?
Oh, no, I don't know. I guess maybe subconsciously. I mean, at some point I have to hypothetically think through every situation in my mind to be able to make a good decision the next day. I haven't really got that far yet. I guess we'll just have to wait and see where it goes. What I really want, and not just coaches talk, but I really want the players to focus and practice hard this week and give themselves a chance to play at the highest level Saturday, because that'll make me happy. And as I told the team, I guess I'll kind of conclude with this, a little bit about the question you asked me is that since we've started this new format of having a championship game, years before we were playing in a game most of the time against Oklahoma at the end of the year that the winner was the Big 12 champion, right? 3, 4, 5 times, I don't know. But we've been in that situation based on it was the last game of the year, and if you won, you won it. If you didn't, you got second. But this is the first time that this format's been out that I've been in the championship game. And for you guys, it's the same. And there are no guarantees that you can ever get in this again. We don't know that. So I'm asking you to maximize yourself in all areas to give yourself the best chance to play that you can play on Saturday. So as you look back on it, you don't have any regrets. And so when you talk about going where you're going, that kind of falls into that, because if you have a chance at that, you want to make sure you maximize yourself, because, well, you said this 6 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, you're close to having a chance to doing something special. Have you thought about it? I didn't really then, but I have over the last couple of weeks, because how many more times do you get to this chance? You don't get this opportunity a lot, and that's kind of where we're at right now. Good? All right, guys, thanks.